Well, just when you thought the last episode had a pretty big cliffhanger, they throw you this one. My gosh. How is everyone doing today, guys? My name's T-Codes, and we are officially at the halfway point of MCU's Loki series, and oh, yeah, do they leave you on a cliffhanger in this one. This is episode 3, Lamentis, which at first you wonder, what the heck does that even mean? And as we find out rather quickly in this episode, it's the planet that Loki and our variant, Lady Loki, or Sylvie, as she calls herself, it's the planet that they're stuck on for the entire episode because, well, we'll get there rather quickly. So, picking up right where we left off in the last episode, Loki chases Sylvie through the time window, and apparently they go straight back to the TVA, which, of course, is leaving to go and fix the mess that Sylvie has left for them with the multiverse possibly forming and all that. So the TVA, for the most part, is not guarded as well. So that gives Sylvie a chance to find a way in. But of course, that isn't the only thing that they give us at the start of the episode. They also show us how Sylvie was able to get the TVA guard to give her the location, or at least show her the way to the timekeepers. And it kind of showed this little theory that a lot of people are wondering about in terms of the actual TVA. You know, like, are these people that work for the TVA real? Like, were they just a part of the timeline and they were, like, picked out? Or were they actually created by the timekeepers and all that? So this drops in that no, they actually may not have been, because the prisoner that Sylvie took in the last episode, we have this little flashback / illusion scene where Sylvie is with her in this like bar, and they're drinking margaritas, and it seems like they're just having this normal conversation, but Sylvie's slowly trying to get the information out of her about the timekeepers and all that. And they do acknowledge that later in the episode. Like, Loki asks Sylvie, like, wait a minute, that guard that you took was actually had a life, was on the timeline and all that? It's like, so we're getting some interesting information out of this, aren't we? But again, that's later. They bring that up again later in the episode, but let's talk about what happens to Sylvie in the TVA. Like I said, Loki followed her in, and so the two get into a fight, and they can't use magic. And I found it interesting how Sylvie, she grabs one of the TVA guards and tries to do her, like, mind game thing, but she can't because, magic doesn't work at the TVA. And a part of me was wondering, like, wait, did she plan all this out? And, like, did she not realize that magic doesn't work at the TVA? Does that mean, has she not been to the TVA? Like, it was kind of hard to figure out with that. But like I said, she was trying to get to the timekeepers, but Loki comes in and he's like, okay, well, if you're not going to join me, then I'm just gonna try and kill you. So the two get into a fight, and this leads them to it leads to Loki snatching the time machine thing. What is it? The time pad? Tim pad. And he picks a random time and year and all that, and they fall in, and they land on this planet that is called Lamentis 1. And I'm just gonna say right now, think Ratchet and Clank meets Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Because you have this very cool planet that has this mix of Mad Max style buildings with obviously futuristic kind of buildings, and you have just this gigantic moon that's slowly coming down to just destroy the planet. I love that visual every time they look up, and it's straight out, it's so Majora's Mask. Like, even the moon starts to form like a crack, and it looks like a face. I just couldn't stop laughing at that, but at the same time, I'm like thinking, okay, how are they gonna get out of this situation? Because apparently, just like a regular phone, it doesn't work. Like, they run out of power or energy or battery for the thing, so they can't just pick another time and just jump. So of course the two are stuck there, and they're forced to work together. You know, we got that old-fashioned thing, you know, like they're enemies, but now they're forced to work together, because if they don't, they're both dead on this planet. And I'll say it is pretty cool to see these two interact with one another, and it's about what you would expect, because technically speaking, these are two Lokis talking with each other, but Sylvie doesn't like to be called that. You know, she's like, don't call me Loki, don't call me Variant, my name is Sylvie, that's what I'm going by. And Loki's like, oh, okay. So I like that. I like the way they work off each other, and I also like how their methods are very different too, even though they're technically, again, supposedly the same person. Like, there's this one scene where they find this old house, and there's a lady inside, and so Sylvie, you know, her first instinct is to draw, she pulls out her sword, but Loki's like, maybe we should try diplomacy with this. Sylvie ignores him, opens the door, gets blasted out of the house, and Loki's just like, sorry about that, my, acquaintance. So, and then he tries to impersonate the husband, you know, like he uses his magic to become the husband, but that doesn't work either, because he tries to be the nice, gentle husband, like, it's been a long time, honey, I really missed you, and it's like, boom, and he's like, the wife's like, my husband never talked to me like that, and I'm like, yeah, you could have thought about that, Loki. So, I love that. I love how there are moments in this episode where their methods could work, but they don't always work. Like, even when a method does work, they point out a flaw with it. Like, so I like how neither one are fully right, and neither of them are fully wrong with the ways they do things. But yeah, because they're stuck on this planet, they have really, their main option at the start was just find a main power source somewhere on this planet that could power up the device, so that way they can get off that rock, because it's an apocalyptic event, so that means everyone is going to die no matter what they do. And I mean, yeah, you gotta give a moon coming in to destroy the planet. You're kinda doomed. But yeah, so Loki and Sylvie, they're very, like I said, their methods with each other are very clashing with one another, and of course they don't trust each other. Like, even like Sylvie, you know, like even Loki points it out multiple times, you know, Sylvie's like, here, I think this could possibly power up the device, give it to me, and Loki's like, yeah, like, I'm gonna give you the device to use to power that, and I doubt, you know, they're like, I doubt that's enough power, and of course we find out later, yeah, that's not enough power at all. So but their main option then they get is, of course, is the power source, which the lady that they got blasted by tells them that there's this gigantic evacuation ship that is somewhere on the planet that is going to take off, and so Sylvie thinks like, okay, that's our way to power up this device. And a part of me was wondering, wait, why couldn't you just get on the ship? And then I was remembering, wait, if this is an apocalyptic event, that means all these people are dead, so they can't really get on that ship and fly out. Or maybe they can. I'm like, I like that. I like how when you really start thinking about everything that's happened so far, you can try and like map out multiple options. Like, maybe in terms of like a multiverse idea, what if there was like one path where they actually do this or do this or do this? So I really like when you can't figure out which one is gonna happen, but you're excited to see what's gonna happen regardless. So yeah, so Loki and Sylvie, they pretty much have to get to this ship, and so they hop on this train that is evacuating only the rich, as as we see, like, you have all these people who, some of them are, so they're dressed like miners, just normal class people, and then you have the higher class just waltzing onto the train like it's nothing, and so it's like, okay. So, Loki and Sylvie, they're able to get on because Loki, he dresses up as a guard, takes Sylvie as a prisoner, and the two get on, and I like how they both have to work together to get on, even though they don't acknowledge it. Like, so, like Loki's just trying to smooth talk his way on with Sylvie as his prisoner, but the guard isn't fully buying it, so Sylvie then grabs the guard and, like, implants, like, an illusion in his head, so that way he lets him on. But Loki doesn't say thanks for that or anything. Like, they just get on, they sit down, and Sylvie's like, that wasn't a plan, right? You were just doing your thing. And so Loki's like, And I like that. I like how they also don't have they think of the definition of a plan differently. Everyone has a definition of something different. Like, Sylvie's like, a plan is something you list out, you do all these things, because earlier in the episode, Sylvie was screaming at Loki because she was like, do you have any idea how long I was planning to take down the TVA? Years I was planning that. And Loki's just like, okay. So here, they're getting into this conversation, and of course, because they're technically the same Loki, they're the same person, they try to figure out, well, what's really different about them, besides gender. And so Sylvie, apparently she lost her mother when she was very young, or maybe because she's just been doing this for so long, she's forgotten about her. As she said, she's like, it's like a dream, it's like, it's just so far it's gone in my head. It's so foggy and all that. And I also like how it's like, Loki's like, well, I'm adopted, and she's like, oh yeah, same here. And Loki's like, wait, they told you? And she's like, yeah, did they not tell you? And he's like, well, technically, eventually they did, but So I really like that. I like the way that they bounce off each other in this. Like, they're trying to figure each other out. They're trying to understand the other one, and I even like the way that they're slowly getting along, but at the same time you're thinking, well, these are two tricksters, so how? It's like a very complex game of chess. You're just moving a piece one at a time, trying to figure out the other person and trying to get advantage over them. Like, I love just the way they keep bouncing off each other. And then, like, I even like this little moment where Sylvie's like, Loki's like, is there anyone waiting for you after all this is done? And she's like, and Sylvie's like, oh yes, I've kept a long distance relationship with someone. And I'm like thinking, yeah, long distance indeed. And then Sylvie throws this back, and he's like, what about you? Do you have any princesses or princes? And Loki's like, a bit of both. I mean, you could see that as a joke, but I also like that idea of, like, Loki actually being bi. Like, I mean, again, with the decade we're in right now, just more acceptance of LGBTQ and representation. That'd be really cool if Loki was actually bi, because you can see this as a joke, or you can just see this as cool. He's bi, but so what? I mean, representation, you don't have to fully acknowledge it. You don't have to have Loki parade around saying he's bi. If he can, like, if you know he's bi and you've seen everything he's done, you're just like, cool, he's just a regular person. Well, I say regular and yet he's a god of mischief that has murdered countless people, but, got his butt kicked by the Avengers, mainly Hulk, but, okay. I digress. They're on this train, and, they are having these interesting moments with each other, and then Loki, I don't know if he did this on purpose, or if he just, I really don't know what happened here. Like, he gets drunk, and you would wonder why he would get drunk. Like, why would he get drunk? It's such a bizarre scene. Like, Sylvie falls asleep, she wakes up, and she sees Loki drunk, and he's singing to the other passengers, and his uniform has disappeared because, he's not focusing on keeping the illusion, he's just drunk. And so the guards come in, and they have to get into this fight, but Loki being drunk, he can't use his magic right, he can't even throw a dagger right. Luckily, he didn't hit anyone with it. Like, you have the old-fashioned guards holding the hostage in a situation, and Loki's like, okay, and it doesn't even hit anyone, and Sylvie's like, that was a terrible throw! So they get into their fight, and I also like how, if you saw the trailer, like, you know, that one scene where Loki throws someone out the window and he's like, bye. It's like, that's in this episode, and I love how it's him being drunk, he's just like, bye. But unfortunately, Loki gets pinned down and he's thrown out of the train, and since he has the time machine, I guess, or time machine phone, I forget what it was called, but Sylvie is forced to jump out with him to follow him, and much like a regular phone as well, when Loki comes out from after rolling out of a train, he picks it up and the thing is busted. So unless they fix it, they're stuck on this planet that's about to blow up because, you know, you got a giant moon. And so the two, of course, or Sylvie, of course, is getting super frustrated with it. And I even like how Loki, like, Loki, like, she literally lets out this gigantic scream, and like, you just see the green magic in her just, like, erupt. And then she sits down, and Loki's just like, does that help? Does that screaming help? And she's like, yeah. And I was hoping Loki would scream too. I would just hope Loki would just be like, ah! Like that. It's like, that would have been funny. But it's more of a sentimental moment between the two there, which they also had on the train. Again, like, obviously talking about their past, and they even had a moment of talking about what love was like. You know, love, like Loki says, love's like a dagger, you know, it's like, it's beautiful, you can see yourself in it, it can cause you to bleed, but when you reach out to grab it, it's not there. It's like, I'm like, is that something from Macbeth? Because there was that, you know, if anyone who knows Macbeth knows about the dagger speech in that, I remember, because, you know, high school, Shakespeare, gotta love it. But I felt like that was part of it, and Sylvie just like, that was a terrible metaphor, and Loki's like, really? I thought I was getting it right. But I don't know, maybe, I mean, if they do get together by the end of this, that'd be cool, but at the same time, you're like thinking, well, they have their plans, and there's a lot of things going on, but yeah, so, but yeah, so after they're tossed out of the train and they're seemingly stuck, they realize that the only way to escape is to hijack the rocket and fly out, like, you know, Star-Lord it basically, you know, like how in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, when they were going through that asteroid field that literally had asteroids randomly popping up, like, Loki and Sylvie are basically going to do that because they have to fly through this all these meteors that are coming down from this moon that's literally about to hit. It's like, and it all leads to this really epic one-shot sequence where they enter, you know, they come into the city where the rocket is, and I love it because it's full frame, you know, it's a full screen, and then the second the music starts, you hear, like, the asteroids coming down, and the music starts to pick up, then, like, the black bars come in, and I love it just fades in, you know, it doesn't, like, Mandalorian, you know, it was, like, full screen, and then it slowly moved to that, whereas this, it just faded in. And all of a sudden, you get the music starts picking up. You get this cool one-shot sequence of them running around the city. Obviously, there were multiple takes, but they made it to look like one shot. They're running around the city, trying to avoid avoid meteors, excuse me. Avoid meteors. They have to fight off these the guards. They're just running around. There's citizens everywhere. Everything is going to heck. They eventually get to the rocket, but then the rocket is destroyed, and it just leaves you on this ominous tone because, you know, you see the rocket and then the camera pans to Loki and Sylvie. Loki's just looking up at the rocket. Sylvie looks up too, but then she turns around and walks away because in her mind she's like, we're done. And Loki's just like, well, we're probably gonna die, and it just leaves it there. It's like, what? It just leaves you on that note, and I literally when I was watching it, I was like, you can't leave it there. Like, that's literally, I mean, I've seen a lot of shows, I've seen a lot of movies, shows that leave you on cliffhangers and you're like, why there? This for me is literally like, why there? I feel like other episodes or movies, it left you on a note, but you're like, okay, well, it makes sense here. This, it literally feels like you just stopped. And of course, it's so... I want to get to the next episode so badly now, and that's probably why they did it. That's why they did it. They leave you on this note, so that way you have to see what happens next, because that was technically their last ticket off that rock. And they're running out of time. You know, the moon is literally right there. You get this shot of the moon literally cracking open in front of, and you hear it. Granted, I don't know if that makes sense, like hearing the sound of a moon splitting open. I mean, it was pretty close, I don't know, but, you know, obviously, you know, I don't know if Majora's Mask will happen for them, or maybe something will happen, because technically speaking, this, the Time Variance Authority, they're way too occupied to help Sylvie or Loki. The only possible way I can see them getting out of that is if they somehow get one person off that planet. Like, that's real. Like, because in apocalyptic event, if everyone dies, there is no time variance. So maybe if they just get like one person off, that can cause a variance, and maybe that'll get them, you know, discovered or something. You know, there's a lot of ways this can go, and I'm excited to see it. And I imagine you guys are too. So yeah. Yeah, this episode got me riled up. I'm really excited. I mean, the first two episodes got me riled up, but this one really got me riled up in terms of the tension, the action, and the sheer madness that was going down in that final act. And of course, the banter between Loki and Sylvie. That was also cool. But yeah, so alright, that's everything I got for this one. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. And if you want to subscribe, subscribe. And you don't have to, I'm just saying. So with all that said, thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Where do you go from here? Ugh!